everybody. Welcome to another Toy Guys Talking. Very happy to be talking to Adam from AC Toy Design, as well as Mom Gave Them Away. How you doing, Adam?
Hello. Thank you for having me, Michael. This is awesome.
Yeah, I've been chatting with you for a while on the interwebs, but it's cool to finally be able to see you, talk to you, and just talk some toys and the tangents that they take us as well. Yeah. What do you want to start with? Man,
I don't even know. I asked
Garbage Pail Kids.
Garbage Pail Kids.
I love this shirt.
I guess that's as good a place as any to start. I should probably tell your audience, like I told you, I'm sitting with a little 9-pound injured puppy, so I'm going to be maneuvering every once in a while.
Yeah, that's cool.
But yeah, Garbage Pail Kids, man. That's I actually I forgot I had it on. My oldest 80s memories go back to that stuff. I'm a very super nostalgic person, as you and probably everybody watching. And the Garbage Pail Kids, the cards, like I grew up in the suburbs of Illinois, right outside Chicago.
Oh, cool.
And
love Chicago.
It's great. And it was very John Hughes, which is a big part of, I think, any 80s kid growing up. And I remember one of my favorite memories is going to the 7-Eleven directly behind our house, just walk right around the block, and with a buddy of mine, and we'd grab probably like 2 or 3 packs of Garbage Pail Kids cards, and then play Rampage on the arcade.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good. And we'd play probably like $1 worth of games, and then take our cards and a bunch of candy that we bought and walk right across the street to the park, and open up the cards, and then eat some candy and hang out. But that was the best, man. Everything always goes back to that and then springs forward. That was probably like 84, 85, or 85, I guess, was the first year of Garbage Pail Kids. So
yeah, I remember first. I want to just mention Rampage first. I've got an awesome retro arcade in my town called Pinup Arcade. I did a walkthrough for them a while back on the channel, and Rampage is one of the games they have. And every time I go in there, there's 2 or 3 people up on Rampage doing the 3-player. So, if it's fun, if it's good, it doesn't matter what year it was manufactured. I just love the fact that, with classic cars, there's people who appreciate classic cars, even if those cars were made 30 or 50 years before they were born. And I just love seeing like young people on an arcade machine that came out in like the mid 80s going, this is fun.
Right on. I mean, that I remember it was like sparse when you'd see, at least for me, when you'd see a cabinet game. Because we didn't, I guess, in those like early to mid 80s, I had never been into an arcade. It was just an occasional like 7-Eleven or something. And I think it wasn't until like the 90s with like Mortal Kombat where I really got into arcades. And I'm not a big gamer, but those I've got right here. I've got this was
oh, I love those. Galaga.
Yeah, best man's gift for my brother's wedding. So he was like, he knows how I'm feeling about that stuff. But that was always fun whenever you bump into an arcade game, a cabinet game like that.
Yeah, I'm loving all the little miniatures. This one's even smaller. The little, is this thing working? Is this thing on? There we go. Little Pac-Man deal.
That's so big.
And it's an actual working little machine that you can use, and it's perfect for G.I. Joes. So I've got one on the flag, and I got a new Frogger, which I got to put in the Terradrome for those Dreadnoks to play.
Right. And it's a keychain. Do you ever like hook it to some keys and put it on your hip?
No, this is a total, it's a workaround. Whenever you see something like this on a keychain,
yeah,
it's not really intended to be a keychain. It's a technicality or a loophole. You know how all the license stuff works, right? Well, you don't have the license to make miniature video game systems, but we were able to get the license for keychains. And a few years ago, they had those, the G1 mini bots, like Bumblebee, Cliffjumper, as keychains. And I was like, why keychains?
Totally, man.
Well, because they didn't have the license to do Transformers. Hasbro isn't going to let go of that. But hey, we got the keychain license, so it's an interesting little workaround. Like
just once, I want to see a guy go to his car and put his keys in, and it's like there's like three of those machines
Oh
dangling from
my
his keys.
God, that's an amazing idea. Now they're pricey. Like they,
Yeah.
I was just at the Toys R Us. I'm not, not bragging. I'm sorry, Toys R Us closed worldwide. But when I throw it out there, it's because I genuinely love Toys R Us, and I'm very appreciative we still have one here. But when I went to my local Toys R Us, they had a bunch of these, and they're like 25 Canadian each, which has got to be about 20 American, and that's a hefty little price. It's super cool, but that's hefty. Like I'd love to get the whole set of them, but I got the Pac-Man a while back, picked up a Frogger not too long ago, but super super cool idea. I love the idea. Like if you can't have a full arcade in your house,
Yeah.
which is starting to become a possibility for a lot of people with those great one up. What are they
Yeah.
called?
Those like they're like I don't know 2 feet tall or something.
Yeah, they're not a full cabinet size, but they're pretty close.
Yeah.
You get, they're about 500 each here in Canada, which is a lot, but still, what's a real one, a real full size vintage one going to cost you? So for a couple grand, you could actually have a decent looking retro arcade in your house. But for the people who don't have the space or the money, I love the idea of like for $100, you could at least have an arcade in your GI Joe headquarters or something.
And I've seen people grab either those or the ones that I have and do like a really cool setup, like almost like a miniature arcade that they can sort of enter into
Yeah.
at their table. Hey, before we go any further, I want to say I had this look long before Sean Fuster ever did. Okay, so that's something he brought that to my attention on Instagram a little around Halloween. He was like, I posted a picture of my face, and he's like, wait a minute, look at that profile. We were talking about how much it was similar, but
Well, I think the only way to settle this is in a solid steel cage.
he would win. He would win. He's got way more knowledge on that stuff than I do.
Hey man, you never know who will win when you got interference. So
Yeah.
run in. We might get that dastardly Danny Blanchard doing a run in. Shout out to Scott. But Garbage Pail Kids, I remember when I first saw them, of course, Cabbage Patch Kids was all the rage, and I wanted one, even though I didn't really want one. That might have been the first toy, one of the first toys that I didn't really care, but I, fell into all the hype and the craze, which to this day is still happening. Like gotta go get it or gotta go see it because of the hype. And I couldn't find a Cabbage Patch Kid that Christmas during all the craze, but when those cards came out, they were just amazing because they were, like, looking back on it, probably not appropriate for kids. Like, who's the one with like was he squeezing a zit, and there was another one that was Crater Chris, and all sorts of just disgusting, awful.
Yeah. I still like I'm only missing of like the original from like 85 to like 89, I guess. I'm only missing the very first series. And because it's like $600 to try to, get it.
Why?
It's crazy, man. And like my handle, my mom literally did give all my stuff away.
Aw.
So I've been slowly, I guess about like 2000 probably like 2011, 2012, I went through like this quasi midlife crisis of some kind. And I was like, I've always been nostalgic and always been into the 80s, everything, culture, period. But I didn't start reclaiming all my stuff until around then. And Garbage Pail Kids was one of the first I went back and was like, I gotta dive in.
Yeah.
Because I look at those cards and I'm just like, man, I can just remember. It's like it's time travel,
Does it have to be the original one, or would you settle for like a reprint? Like I'm sure you could find them online and print them yourself, but is it the same?
Sure. For me, I know it's a constant, like, not only internet conversation, but you've mentioned stuff like that before, even with like repro stuff.
Yeah.
I don't mind the repro stuff as much, but when it comes to my Garbage Pail Kids, there's just something about it. It's like old comic books. You know how they have a smell?
Yeah.
It's like those chemicals that they used in the paper.
Yeah.
Garbage Pail Kids a lot of times are the same way, and I I don't need them to be mint or anything. In fact, when they're a little worn, it's almost like you can feel the life that they went through and that they were appreciated.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just I would like to have an original set. I do have a few like reprinted posters and stuff like that of the different things, but one of these days, or maybe I'll just build it over time and just buy like a card here, a card there.
So is it the first series you don't have? The whole first
Yeah.
series?
Yeah, I think that was it's got like Atom Bomb and Nasty Nick, the Dracula guy, and Dead Ted. Just some of my favorite guys are in that first set.
I'll keep an eye out for you.
Well, I appreciate it. I always wonder like what kind of stuff you would find in Canada as far as that goes. And I know you're always saying like it's like hit or miss kind of.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird. I mean, you go to one city and there's none of the big three or big four are there. Star Wars, Transformers, G.I. Joe, He-Man. And then, I mean, you can go to 5 shows and find nothing and then find a Starrier. I'm like, a Starrier? I haven't seen one of these in ages, or an Inhumanoid. Like, it just, that's the fun of going over and over and over again. You know, like there's certain things that I can't really do over and over again because it's like I don't know, like, you know, I'm not much of a sports fan because I feel like if I've been to 20 hockey games, I feel like I've been to them all, you know, or even pro wrestling. Like I love pro wrestling, but to go see it live, I went to, you know, a couple events when I was younger, 2-3 events when I was younger, and then I went to one a few years ago and I felt like, yeah, I'm kind of satisfied with live wrestling. I'll watch it at home. I'm kind of good. But the toy shows, I never get tired of them because it's the thrill of the hunt. Like it's not just about what will we see. It's about what will we find, and possibly for an insane deal too. Like even just a few months ago, you know, when I went to one of them with some birthday money, and I'm going in there going, okay, I can actually kind of splurge. I don't have to like pinch pennies and try to, hey, you know, could you knock $5 off? And I found that G2 Optimus Prime, and the box was beautiful, and the thing looked like it had been touched once. I mean, everything was perfect paint, stickers and everything. And then the guy said the price, and I was like, what? And I'm telling my pal who was with me, I'm like, that's half of what this guy should be asking. Like, that's just amazing. So, you know, you go to 5 and come up empty-handed, and then the 6th time you're like, yes.
Yeah, that is the best feeling. It's we've got one in Chicago. We've got a big it's more of a Comic-Con, and it's slowly morphing into like what San Diego has become, which is more entertainment, which I'm not into.
Is that C2E2?
C2E2, yeah.
Okay.
They've been a sponsor of my site since the inception. Like what was that, like 2007 or 8? And so we always have this barter agreement. So I get like free passes and stuff, and I love going. It's great. And I'm a huge comic book fan as well. But I've transitioned into the toys. And so, the toy representation at C2E2 is very slim. But we do have this other one called the Kane County, Toy Fair. It's like twice a year or 3 times a year. And that's actually right in the suburb, St. Charles, that I was talking about with the Garbage Pail Kids. But I've never been to it because I don't have a car. Living in the city of Chicago, you don't need to own a car. So
you got a thumb.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I've got all these guys.
If you got a thumb and you've got a little leg, a little leg.
I've got a few buddies like I almost called them out, but I've got a few buddies in the area who do have cars, and they're also toy guys, and they're pretty big guys on Instagram. And so if they don't take me in 2020, I will call them out. So, but one of these times I'm going to go, and just I love that. I just love that environment.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm gonna just throw this out there to anyone in your area, in the Chicago area. Pick a brother up. You know, pick up a good brother. and you know, make it a tribe thing, you know, like make it a community thing, go and have some fun together, because it's fun to go to these things alone, but it is more fun to go with
Uh,
friends. And you know, there's people who are like, well, I don't know this person. It's like, I've been saying this my whole life. The only difference between strangers and friends is 10 minutes.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
God's
that's great.
honest truth. God's
That
honest
is,
truth. I mean, that if you could,
yeah,
if people could just get over that first awkward 10 minutes, they would see how they're vibing, you know, they're on the same wavelength. You
yeah,
like the same things, you hate the same things. And we're all like, our generation is all from, you know, that generation that grew up on all these characters and cool things, cool movies and shows. So I'm always encouraging people to, like, you know, get together, hang out together, go and talk to each other at these things. You know, if anyone ever sees me at a toy show, come up to me. Don't say
yeah,
you looked busy, I didn't want to bother you. You know, it just come up, say hi. What's the big deal? It's fun.
totally, man. And I appreciate that. And you're right. And there's something unique about the toy community because I've been, and I still am very heavy into the comic stuff. It's a way that I supplement income amongst other things. But there's
Income. What's that?
yeah, right. There's definitely the toy community is so unique, and whether it's on like my work page for AC Toy Design or Mom gave them away for the stuff I collect, it's like those two communities that I've built over the years are like there's never trolling, there's never you know negativity
Yeah.
because most of it is steeped in that nostalgia which comes from your childhood, and when you've got when you've got that to share, the 10 minutes that you're talking about from being friends to strangers is like turns into 2 minutes, you know, and it's like when you can share that with somebody, I think it's different than sharing sports or I don't know, you know, you name it. Toys are it's unique.
Cooking.
Yeah, well, I mean, we all got to eat, but like, but yeah, it's just it's very interesting. And I've been able to juxtapose it between the toys and the comics, and the comic community isn't really for me. So I just kind of do my own thing, and I don't really get into that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ego I noticed, but the toys, man, it really brings people together. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's another thing that I really enjoy about the whole thing. I mean, I started this thing by myself. You know, none of my friends were toy collectors. I hadn't talked to my big toy collecting friend in some years. You know, we had fallen out of touch with each other. So you know, he's a collector now, and we can hang out and talk about this stuff now. But before him, I didn't have any friends who were really into collecting. So I was just on my own and getting this and getting that and enjoying this and enjoying that. And as I was meeting people online, I was finding that it's like when you're a kid and you're on the playground and you go, you like Optimus Prime? I like Optimus Prime. We're best friends. And it's as quick as that. And it might seem just too easy, but it's genuine. It's
Right.
real. And I cannot believe that it's still there. I mean, you know, the big thing you mentioned, midlife crisis earlier, midlife awakening or reawakening or
Yeah.
rediscovery. So we find these guys. There's old ship shape. You know, we find these guys,
Yeah.
and part of the magic is he looks just like he did. We don't. Mom and dad don't if they're still around. You know, a lot of things don't, but he looks exactly like he did. He feels exactly, you know, the same. That's what we love about it. It's time in a bottle, right? It's that time
Yeah.
travel. And the other really incredible aspect of that time travel is that we get to have that same quick, genuine, pure, really awesome connection with other people. You like shipwreck? I like shipwreck. And that doesn't happen in this day and age with anything else, really. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not like you like the Raptors? I like the Raptors, you know, fist bump. You know,
That's
it
it.
doesn't
Yeah.
happen.
You know, it makes me really sad. And I know she's gonna watch this and kick me in my head, but like
I can
my
edit it
sister,
out.
yeah, no, it's fine. My sister has two kids. One of them is just one's 13, one's 11, I think. And the older one is just a plain old scientist. Like she's got her mind going on all kinds of stuff. But the younger one, he's really into video games, specifically Fortnite, and that's fine. Whatever you're into is fine. But as far as I'm seeing the nostalgia almost being bred out of newer generations,
Yeah.
and it's really there's not really anything you can do about it. But it's sad because when they become adults, are you going to look back and be like, oh, I remember that time I played Fortnite? You know, it's like
They will.
no, I don't know. Will they? I don't know.
I
don't
think they will, but I don't know if there's going to be that intensity of joy as we have, like on all of the characters, all of the like situations, the adventures. We open that time warp and go, holy smokes! And to some degree, the '70s kids have it too. I mean, Star Trek was a big world, and Battlestar Galactica, and to some extent, in the '60s, you had that too. And going back, you know. But Fortnite, I mean, maybe, you know, I played this one game this one night and had this, whatever the scenario, maybe, but I think it'll be there, but it won't be as like fondly remembered.
Yeah.
They won't wax poetic about it.
I grab a guy off my shelf.
Yeah, go for it.
So one of my
How is your pup doing, by the way? With the
she's great, man.
Still
She's
good?
yeah,
Oh, hello, puppy. Oh, it's so cute.
that's Mooj. So she had so for people that don't know, she just had ACL surgery, and she, of all places, tore it at the gym because she's so hardcore.
Yeah.
And and but she's doing well.
She's got a lot of physio, rebuild,
Yeah.
redesign, reclaim.
Yeah, she's literally a cyborg. She's got a metal plate now in her.
Oh, she's got the bionic leg.
Yeah, but I wanted to grab this guy because, like you were saying just now about, or just those specific memories, like this Weird Wolf,
Yeah.
right? Headmaster. So what? 1987. So in '87, I was in St. Charles, Illinois again, and this isn't none of my stuff is my original stuff because
Mom
like I
gave
said,
them away.
but I specifically remember the day that I got this guy. I was on the playground at my school, which I could walk to, which was awesome. After school, me and this kid that I really didn't know very well met at the back of the school at the playground to do a to play with our Transformers. And I had heard about these headmasters, and I was like, what? It's two robots and what? Like, and so he brought his Weird Wolf, and I brought, that's the one thing I can't remember what I brought, but whatever it was that I brought was not as cool as Weird Wolf. And
A
I wanted
GoBot.
it might have been something like that. I love GoBots, but I conned him into trading me. And I remember that trade. I was so worried that he would want to undo the trade, and realize how great Weird Wolf was, like I was, like I did. And so I took that thing and I was like, thanks, dude. See ya. Gotta go.
You made out on this one.
Man,
Sucks to be me.
Happy. I was so happy to get this guy. And so he was one of the very first, one of like the handful of 5 toys that I rebought during my awakening. But those kinds of memories, man, it's like when I see kids buying toys, I'm like, you have awesome parents.
Yeah.
And when I see people on Instagram giving their kids their vintage toys, I'm like, you're double awesome, and there's other ways to be awesome parents, I know, but those to me, like, that's really something.
Yeah, like, feeding your kids, clothing them, educating them is all important, but people they don't wax poetic. They don't get nostalgic about that time mom made me a sandwich. And my mom made me, thousands of sandwiches.
Right.
But I've never stopped and think, oh, all those sandwiches. I think about the time that she came into the Toys R Us.
Yeah.
I think about all the time she dropped me off at the Toys R Us when I was a little older. It's not like she dropped a 6-year-old off at Toys R Us, but when I was in my teens, right. Hey, I'm going to the store. You want to go to Toys R Us? Yes. So, she dropped me off there, and I would just wander for an hour, and then, she'd come in, and usually it was time to go home. Yeah, time to go home. And that time it was, what do you want? I'm like, what? And that's a memory I'll never forget. What do you want? And it was 1987. I was like, what do I want? Like, and the headmasters, you just showed Weird Wolf. I was looking for quite a few minutes at Hardhead, the green tank, and she's like, what do you want? You want that? And I'm like, well, I want it, but I know I can't have it because it's, it was crazy expensive even for 87. Like the headmasters were bigger than the Autobot 84, 85 cars. So I saw the price. And I was like, it's a lot. It's not Omega, which, I got for Christmas or something, but just any day, no special occasion. What do you want? And I'm like, this? She's like, okay, your baby bonus came in. You can get it. I'm like, what's a baby bonus? So awesome. Yeah, like the sandwiches, I appreciate it, and the cereal and the breakfast and all the dinner. But we don't remember that fondly. I remember that one of just being like, what? And, cradling the hard head and taking him home. And this is the coolest thing ever. Getting nostalgic even as a kid about, man, I remember the days back in 84. Like I was being nostalgic about 3 years prior when the Autobots didn't have drivers that turned into heads. This is amazing.
I'm very lucky. I don't know if I'm lucky, but I can't remember what I ate for breakfast this morning. But I can remember, like, I've got so many of those specific memories. Muscleman, in the can, flesh colored. That's another one for me. Like my big like nostalgia. What's going on? Okay, my big nostalgia, like big hitters that I have specific memories are like this guy, Muscleman, Garbage Pail Kids. Man, there's a lot, but a few G.I. Joes, like I can remember specifically, getting some of those different characters, but those are just, it's to say priceless is, I don't know, maybe cliche, but it really is. Like, I love that I can remember those moments.
It's genuine, man. It's priceless. It's not hyperbole. It's not waxing poetic. It's genuine, and that's just how I respond to people who go, "Oh, come on, aren't you being a little wishy-washy?" I just see those people, and I go, every time you look into a person like that, and you make your observation, they're looking into you, and they're making an observation too. And I really pride myself on being kind of loud. Well, usually quiet, but loud when I'm responding to those people. I'm usually quiet. I try to take the high road. I try to, if you can't help someone, don't hurt them. But when someone is like, oh, you're so cheesy. Oh, you're so wishy-washy. That's when I get loud and I go, you got no joy. Yeah. And I get a little loud. You got no warmth. You see, it works both ways. It's better to be quiet. It's just better to move on and go and be, whatever, be into whatever you want to be into. I don't know. That's just the way I look at it.
I totally. I've met people, especially recently, on the spectrum that cover the spectrum from me and you, people like me and you who are like super intense nostalgia people, and then like my brother who's 4 years younger. Every time I get a new piece, I'm like, remember this? Because I remember you playing with this. He's like, I don't remember. I'm like, what's your problem?
Yeah, if you say so.
Yeah. And then there's people who are on the other side of the spectrum, like you're talking about, who are just like, they don't have that nostalgia, those ties. And a lot of times there could be a number of reasons why they feel or don't feel the way that they do. Maybe they weren't lucky enough, like we were, to have that stuff.
Yeah.
But like you're saying, you don't need to step on me because you don't feel the same way. So yeah.
And one thing that's also I try to do is, for the people who don't have those nostalgic memories, let's share. That's why we do what we do. It's because we feel like we've got these great memories, these great experiences, and we want to share. I mean, we're not just throwing this out here, to win a popularity contest. We're doing it because we're overflowing with joy
Yeah.
And that's just, it's, I guess, in some people's wiring, it's like, come and share. Going back to those days of the schoolyard and going, everybody come and play with my Megatron.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe not Megatron, but
That's awesome.
but it's pew pew. Like, get the principal out here. Little Jimmy's got a Walther P-38 with a silencer and a scope.
Oh man, that's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of the best on my mom gave them away Instagram. That's one of the only reason that I remember the very first post that I posted on there wasn't toy related. It was just for me to like start a page about the 80s because without the 80s I wouldn't be who I am.
Yeah.
And I love that nostalgia. My first post was that Robin Williams movie where he's a Russian. It's a comedy.
I remember Spies Like Us.
No, it's like right on the tip of my brain, but on the Hudson.
On the Hudson, yeah.
Somebody on the Hudson, something on the Hudson. Anyway,
Moscow on the Hudson.
Moscow
I
on the
remember
Hudson.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had just watched it, and I was sitting there going like, man, I hadn't seen that in so long. I really enjoyed it. I'm going to start an Instagram handle and just talk about just for the 80s. And then so now it's like, it's mostly toys, but anything goes if it's like nostalgia related and 80s related. But my favorite thing on there, like you were saying about the popularity contest, is like it's it's got a decent following on there, but it's because there's so many people who are identifying with those memories. And my favorite thing to see on there is when somebody posts a comment, it's like, man, I haven't thought about this in 30 years. And they say, thank you for posting that. And I'm like, my pleasure, all the emojis, whatever they mean, you get them. That's the coolest thing when you hit somebody in that nostalgia zone and they feel, like you said, that you've shared that thing and reawakened that love. I love that.
It's one of my favorite things to read when people say, I haven't thought of that in ages. And then sometimes they include like my grandfather. I watched this with my grandpa, or my grandma gave me that. And it's in there, and I love that we can open that time warp, it's in there, and it's intense. It's not just like, oh man, I haven't thought of Q-tips in 20 years. Who cares, right? Like, I haven't thought of Swiffer dusters and, there are things that you haven't thought of in a long time and you don't really care. But these are really vivid, passionate memories, and people get overwhelmed. I've read so many comments of people like saying they teared up watching one of my videos. So it's not just, oh, I remember, you remember, I remember. It's not Pepperidge Farms type of memory. It's time warp, man. It's vivid. It's like when I was opening that incredible gift box from Tony at Analog Toys. Yeah. And I'm looking at, this is amazing, and this is amazing, and this is amazing. And then I saw Leatherneck, and I was like, where am I? Like just for a second there, I wasn't where I was. I was like, oh, there's like, it seems like 400 Joes in front of me, 100 Thundercats beside me, and 200 Silver. Like, I was in that aisle again, and I was like, that's powerful. Holy smokes.
That's awesome. Yeah, I could see that. I'm surprised. Man, I mean, I know humility and modesty play into it, but your videos, I would imagine you have a lot of people crying at your videos. The toy, I found you, I think I found you right before you did the Toys R Us closing video.
Yep. And
because that, as with everybody or a lot of kids our age, especially in America, like the Toys R Us, and I posted about it as well at the time, and I was just like, whether you got to go or not, or as frequently as you wanted, you knew what it was, and it marked a point in your life that you can go. It's like throughout our lives, we have all these little markers that we're still tethered to, and maybe we've forgotten about them, but when you remember them, you go bam, and you're tethered, you're slung back to it. And Toys R Us was just one of those. And I remember when you posted your video, yeah, dude, I was bawling. And I remember I sat down with my mom to watch. I was like, Mom, you got to watch this dude. And like, I just want you to see what it's about. And she was the same way, man. She was just like, because she remembers taking me, or at least all the times that I wanted her to take me, and was bugging her about it. And yeah, I mean, that's, and thank you for like doing that. And I know you've hit a lot of people with that, but especially that video. That's one of those markers, that in your life that we can't forget, needs to be talked about, and it needs to be upheld as such, and not just being like, because at the time there were so many people that were like, get over it. It's a store, blah blah blah, and it's like you just don't understand, and that's fine.
That's what I was mentioning earlier. Those are the people I'm loud with, and I go, I see you too. You're looking at something I'm passionate about, and you're trying to squash it. And hey, I see you too. You're a dry human being. Like that's, what are you passionate about? When I was younger, I used to go, what are you passionate about? Thinking, hey, I'm pretty clever. I'm going to crap all over what they're passionate about. Okay. Guess what I found out after a while of asking these people, what are you passionate about? They're not passionate about anything.
Yeah. Man, I always tell people, I'm like, I think one of the biggest adjuncts to your being, to your personality, is to have hobbies, to have something that you are passionate about. I don't care what it is, but find something that you're passionate about, and other than Netflix and chill, give me a break. Get out of here. I think the best people, the most well-rounded people, they have hobbies and things that they defend when in that situation that you've been in, that you're talking about. That's passion.
Yeah, passion is important. Different words for it: passion, intensity. Ultimate Warrior used to say, life is not worth living without intensity, which is, it flies in the face of what most other people say. They're like, calm down, be quiet, chill, just settle down. You can be passionate without being a stark raving loon. Maybe the Ultimate Warrior came off like that in wrestling sometimes. But when the lights were off, when the camera turned off, he was, I think, a good example of how to live a passionate life. He was passionate about everything he did. He was passionate about his kids. He's passionate about his wife, about his art. He didn't just come home and go, oh, I'm going to sit on the couch and watch Netflix. He didn't do that. He was like, kissed his daughters and told them, Daddy loves you. You are the most important thing to Daddy. That is intensity. And then he would grab his knife, which was amazing. He painted with a knife, not a brush.
That's hilarious.
And then he didn't just paint a picture. He was like, his intensity is in his artwork. And I think that's important, that no matter what you do, you should be passionate about it and put your passion and intensity in everything you do, whether it's like videos. I certainly put intensity into my videos. Like I cut with intensity and precision. Photography, same thing, right? Okay. If you're taking a picture of something like this, it's gonna translate in the picture. But if you're like that's what a photographer is supposed to look like. You look at all the great photographers of whatever, landscapes or subjects or whatever. They're not like these cow-eyed and there we go. They're not like that. They're intense artists.
Yeah. One of my good friends from high school, I'll never forget. After we had graduated and I didn't go to college right away. I kind of try to figure out what I want to do, which I still haven't, but I remember
one day.
he went from he did his undergrad and then he did his master's.
I'm still trying to, by the way.
Yeah. Hey, the best of us are, right?
I got this whole, I don't want to grow up problem though.
I'm so with you, man. But he said he was in his master's program and I was like, man, you're really intense about this. It's awesome to see. And he's like, man, if you're going to be a master, master it. Yeah. Master what you're doing. If you're going to bother to be into something, master it. And that's always stuck with me. So even though I haven't always done it, I'm aware of it, and I'm aware of the benefits of not just phoning it in and whether it's a job or something you need to do, or an interest. Like I've definitely taken this toy hobby. It's more of a lifestyle.
Yeah.
To the like nth degree.
Let's call it a religion. I think that's the safest route.
It really is. It really is.
Or no, a spirituality, toy spirituality.
I've definitely mastered it.
Ethos.
But for better or for worse.
I like that. If you're going to be a master of something, master. I like that. That's one of those things that you would think goes without saying, but it seems like a lot of things don't go without saying or do, whichever way it is. So, that's a good one. And one thing I want to ask you about, if it's okay to talk about, is your mom giving them away. And she probably did that with a lot of passion and intensity.
Man, I think I love timelines, and sorry, I don't want to interrupt. Is that where you're?
That was, yeah. I just kind of wanted to open the door and let you go where you wanted to go with it.
I love timelines. I love being able to like look back and be like, know when things happen. I love, especially, toy related. I love knowing all that stuff. So I've been slowly putting together this timeline, trying to figure out when exactly it was that she did give them away. And I think it was in like it was like late 87 when we moved from the suburbs of Chicago to North Carolina. And it was one of those things. It was like a move. I had reached a certain age, and so she wanted to lighten the move. And just gave, and I had, like I didn't have a lot of the big play sets. I had like Boulder Hill, which I don't know if it's kind of like right there. Yeah. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah.
But I had like Boulder Hill and a couple like the GoBots play set, and so, but most of it was action figures, smaller, and so we weren't really. I don't think I was spoiled, but I did have a lot of stuff, and whoever got it, man, or whatever, I don't think it was a garage sale, but whoever got that stuff, man, it was a lot. It was a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So, I've rediscovered like a few pictures from then, like old pictures and old photo albums. And I always look at them and I'll show my mom. I'll be like, proof.
I had it.
It's right here. Like I had it.
What'd you get for it? 50 cents? It's $300 now.
Yeah, bins. That's the thing, and I know you feel the same way as far as like value is, I don't care about value, but cost to replace it.
Yeah.
That's another thing.
That's true.
And I hope, I will definitely put it in my will to be buried with this stuff. Like, just put it all in. Like I have no interest in reselling it or anything like that.
Guys like us are gonna just need a tomb. It's gonna be like the mummies. Like we're just gonna be sealed in with all our stuff.
Yeah, it's so I'm going through this. I'll be going through a move in April, and I'm trying to lighten my load when I move. And so I have no problem. I've already like mentally cut ties with my comic book collection. So I'm in the process of selling that off, and a few other things that take up a lot of space. But one thing I will never shrink is my toy collection. That will continue to grow. And it's like I look around again, like I can kind of see what you can see, but like I've got, just shelves that line the walls with everything that I've reclaimed. And then also right here in front of me, which is where I work, I wish I could flip the thing around, but like I've got my vintage He-Man, Castle Grayskull, LJN Dungeons and Dragons, Fright Zone, and then a bunch of other bits and bobs. And this is where I work. So this is where I make toys. And it's like that stuff fuels what I do. And, I never want that to go away. I never want that to go away.
One of the things that I hope people keep in mind, if they had a lot of stuff and it got lost or given away or whatnot, everything is as it should be. That's the truth, and we can't really, I think you have a great attitude about it. You look at the opportunity to turn it into a hunt to reclaim and relive and re-enjoy. That's the way to look at it, instead of, you go and you track it down and finally got my stupid conquest again because, so and so gave it away. Huh. Like that's not what it's supposed to be about. It's supposed to be, oh, it's just like the one I had. And that's the really awesome thing about vintage toy collecting, is that even if you lost, no longer have the one you had, there's still thousands and thousands exactly like the one you had. Exactly. We're not even talking about, if something's handmade and they made 100 of them, or even 1,000 of them, like some of those Hot Toys or Sideshow dolls. They're made in low numbers, but they're still pretty similar. We're talking thousands and thousands. I'd love one day to find out the number of Sky Strikers or Conquests or, like Optimus Primes in 84 and 85 that were made. And it's awesome that you can get one that's exactly like the original one. And for me, at least, I never look at, like, this is a perfect example. It's just beside me, but it's a perfect example. I had a Conquest when I was a kid. It was the only G.I. Joe jet I had when I was growing up. I never had the Sky Striker. I didn't even have a Shark. Later on, I would get some of the other vehicles, but the Conquest was like my big G.I. Joe jet. I can't believe I have one. This isn't my original. This is one I got, at a toy show a while back. It looks exactly like the one I had, right down to the stickers are a little worn. Yeah. It's kind of yellowed and schmutzy a little bit. And I don't ever look at it and go, but it's not the one Mom bought me. I look at it and go, man, the adventures, the fun I had with that. Yeah. And that's the coolest thing about toy collecting to me, is that, like, there's so many copies of this stuff. And I don't think, for me at least, the specialness doesn't decrease just because it's not the original. Because I know that the one I had wasn't an original. The one we all had was a copy. They're all copies.
What do you think is I'm sure you've said this before, like the percentage of your collection that is, how much of that is your childhood
Very
piece?
Low.
Yeah.
Very, very low. So my dad, I think when I was like late in my teens, maybe early 20s, some friends of my dad would come over and they had young kids. And so I gave quite a bit of stuff away.
Sorry, I just knocked something over.
Do you need to do cleanup?
No. I just want, I hope it didn't disconnect anything. Okay.
No, we're still good. When I would give some things away to some kids here and there, but even then, like, even when I wasn't into toy collecting, when I would never put a Snake Eyes on a computer desk, the thought never crossed my mind, because I was in that phase of you're too old for toys. But there's something in the basement, like Rocky would say. There's still something there. I still felt like I don't feel it now, but one day I'm probably going to want this. Like, and there were things I gave away which I didn't really care about. I'm like, like a Badger or something like that, a neon green G.I. Joe Jeep, which I got later on. I was like, no nostalgia here. Didn't play with it much. Here you go. Never regretted giving it away. But looking at 85 Snake Eyes or my 85 Flint, and I was like, I'm probably going to want to keep these. You never know. And I'm glad I got them. But yeah, very, very few of the pieces. I mean, especially in the room and the condition it's in now, like how many things are here. Not that many are my originals. And the funny thing is, like, going back to when I was saying, don't really, for the folks listening, watching along, don't really lament losing your collection, because that can be a positive. One that I'll use as an example is Springer. I still have my original Springer. He is beat to hell. I played with that thing like crazy, smashed and bashed it, and I never had the opportunity to miss Springer, so I take him for granted. He wasn't a birthday present or a Christmas present. He was just it was one of those like hard head moments. What do you want? And that wasn't even a mind-blowing, like, I get a headmaster moment. It was like, oh, cool, triple changer. It's not bad. It was a not bad purchase. And he's a not bad transformer. He's, as far as the other Autobots goes, he's not the best. Like, he's a triple changer, all 3 modes. The helicopter looks okay. He doesn't stand very well. So I've never had the opportunity to miss him. And he's just kind of there. And when I look around, I'm like, good old Springer, I guess. Whereas, like, if I look at another Transformer that I had and I lost, like, I'm trying to think, Ultra Magnus. I had an Ultra Magnus when I was a kid, and he was one of the ones that busted and went into the garbage, and I didn't have him for a while. I have a lot more nostalgia for Ultra Magnus now that I've reacquired him, instead of Springer, who's just always been there, and I'm like, good old Springer. So something to think about for people who lost that original one and are hunting for it. Like, you actually might appreciate that a lot more since you didn't have it for a while.
Yeah. There's, I love, this is just a off topic thing, not off topic, but I don't know if you've seen that there's a Christmas movie on Netflix with Kurt Russell.
Yeah.
Where he plays Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Not my favorite movie, but I love that scene where he's in the interrogation room talking to the cop, and he starts pulling out of his jacket toys that the cop had forgotten about, but he had or always wanted when he was a kid. And it's like, he's looking at it like just, you can see the appreciation of reacquainting himself with that thing that he either didn't get or didn't have. And I literally don't have anything from when I was a kid. The only thing that I have is it's actually my very first custom figure that I made, and it's a G.I. Joe. I really wanted a Bane from Batman figure.
Oh, cool.
Look at those legs. So I think this is
he's got the Jimmy legs.
Yeah, so he's all G.I. Joe. Let's see if his helmet comes off. Maybe you'll recognize his head. I don't know if it's Chuckles. Where's the camera?
Oh, Captain Gridiron?
I don't know, man. I really don't. And the body's a little beefier than most. And then he's got maybe Quick Kick or somebody's like that karate belt there.
Oh, yeah.
And then the helmet is not barbecue, but oh, man. 1987.
Toxic Viper.
Flamethrower guy. So anyway,
Charbroil, maybe.
Charbroil, right there. So I wanted like a Bane figure, and so I made this one. It's even got part of my retainer on his arm.
Oh, that's amazing.
So this is like the only thing that's survived from my collection, and it's apropos because it's also it's a vintage toy and a custom figure. So, but that's like the only thing that survived. The only thing.
Oh.
I don't know how.
Do you remember what your very first toy ever was?
Yeah, I got that behind me too. So very first was this Adventure People.
Oh, cool.
Fisher Price.
Looks like a Centurion's toy almost. Oh, sweet.
It's got the same color style. So this is like probably 79. The date's all wacky. Probably like, I want to say 78, 79. But even more so is this octopus that came with it.
Oh, weird.
Dude, and I had like years of like
got you.
like at the bathtub and like chewing on this guy.
That's why you needed the retainer.
Yeah. This is the first memory that I have of toys is this guy, and I remember the baths and like playing with this octopus. I mean, if you like, I know every centimeter of this octopus like blind. Just it's got so many weird little divots and like details. I don't know. That's like big time for me as far as nostalgia goes.
How much do you want for it?
Yeah, right.
You should have started with NFS, not for sale.
Yeah, right. NFS, everything. But yeah, that's I love that thing. I love it so much.
Let's wrap up with AC Toy Design. What are you working on there now, and what have you been working on?
That's I got stuff within reach. I won't have to get up. So AC Toy Design. A lot of people. I've been on like I've had that Instagram account for about I don't know 8 years. I used to be AC Custom Figures, and I rebranded the whole thing this year to kind of coincide with the Patreon and the YouTube channel and all that stuff. So my newest stuff, I'm a huge He-Man fan, and I have this one client who is even bigger He-Man fan than I am. And they're not Master Universe is not my favorite line. It's one of them. But this guy, I make about four figures for him when I have the time, and he lets me pull ideas out of my brain and create my own characters that would fit into the universe, into the Masters of the universe, which is, as an artist, that is like amazing because everybody wants a Deadpool figure and everybody wants a Batman or whatever, and that's all fine. But when you're able, one, as an artist, to just create anything you want, that's amazing. But also, as a toy designer, so much of the tracks have been laid out as far as what people like, and you kind of have to go along. Like right now, Star Wars is hot, so a lot of Mandalorian stuff going around. But when I'm able to make these Masters of the Universe figures and just create an idea out of my head and just be like, here's this guy, and write the backstories, which I do for everybody. So I just finished a new wave. This one here, you'll have to tell me if I'm too close or too far.
Oh, it looks great.
So this is my Horrid Mud Trooper.
Oh, that's awesome.
And he's like,
wow.
So his story is that like Hordak sends in the first wave of the Horde troopers that we all know, and they kind of like scorched earth, just like decimate. And then the Horde Mud Troopers come in second wave, and just he's got this blaster that it's like mud blaster that I made.
Oh, cool.
And they come in and douse everything with mud, and then use these grabbers to like pull people out like prisoners and stuff. So that's one of the wave. I've got this dude, old Fang. He's pretty tall, so I don't know.
Yeah, he's got the elongated neck there.
Yeah, this one has more sculpt on it than the Mud Trooper. The Mud Trooper's a lot of kit bashing than the repaint.
Wow.
But you can kind of see like sculpted armor and.
So those are Masters of the Universe Classics.
Yeah.
Bodies you're using as the base.
And that's the one stipulation that this client said was he loves that Mattel Four Horsemen Master of the Universe Classic base. So I just build everything on that. I did this guy. This is Seaman.
Oh, Seaman.
Yeah. So this guy is.
He's a salty dog.
Yeah, this is She-Ra. This is a clone of She-Ra, and he is the king of the seas of Etheria. And since She-Ra and He-Man are brother sister,
yeah,
right? That's why he looks like He-Man, because he's got the family genes. So
that's a cool idea that he's a clone of She-Ra, but
right,
yeah. Instead of just going the easy route and saying he's a He-Man clone, we already have a He-Man clone. It's Faker, right?
Totally.
I like that.
So yeah, I sculpted all that blue armor, and this was a head sculpt that somebody else did that I bought because I really liked the swept hair, and then repaint and all that stuff. So yeah, so I got the new wave of He-Man guys sitting here. Whoa. And then another one. Female Princess Jaina.
Oh, cool. She's a princess of power or a horde trooper?
She's a good guy. she's a warrior. She's tied with the sort of the lands of Eternia. Her people are like tied to the land as far as where they get their powers from. She's got like a clip-on gun back there.
Oh, nice.
Obsidian sword. So that's part of that wave. I just love being able to like pull this stuff out of my head, you know. And then I've also got the, you know, other commissions and stuff from of different characters. I also love doing. Occasionally, I get somebody else's original idea, and they go, "Can you make this into a toy?" And I'm like, "I'd love to." I love being able to put my stamp on, being the first person to put my stamp on somebody else's idea. So it's a lot of fun.
So if someone wants to get you to do a figure for them, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
As far as commissions go, my Instagram, AC Toy Design, has all my links from that, the Patreon, Mom Gave Them Away, YouTube, and they can email me, just Adam Crohn it's Adam Crohn at Ymail, not Gmail.
Ymail. I remember Ymail.
I'm old school. Yeah, and just reach out. It just depends on, you know, if I've got space and time and all that stuff. But I'm always taking commissions. And yeah, I'm really fortunate to be able to do this as a quasi part-time, full-time kind of thing. It goes back and forth.
Hobby, religion, spirituality.
Right.
Oh, it's awesome. I've had a blast talking with you. Don't hang up as soon as I wrap up this spiel here. But just for everyone listening along on the podcast or watching along on YouTube, thanks a lot for watching. Check out the description to see how you can get in contact with Adam. Thanks, everyone. Adam, it's been a blast.
Thank you, Michael.
Nerdmas Day, thank you so much for your time. Everyone else, Nerdmas Day.